We need to talk. Because what we have feared, what we have been warned about, is no longer a hypothetical. It is happening right now on American soil. This week, in a mandatory $6 million gathering, President Donald Trump stood before 800 of our nation's highest-ranking generals and admirals and declared war on the United States. He didn't just suggest it. He announced it. And his plan is already in motion. To understand the danger we're in, you first have to understand the state of mind of the man who gave the order.
No applause,
This wasn't a presidential
no cheers.
address.
In fact,
It was a
no
rambling,
reaction whatsoever.
incoherent meltdown that left our military's top brass in stunned silence.
You know what? Just have a good...
What the actual hell was that? That was the worst speech Trump has ever given, and that's saying something. He rambled for about an hour to admirals and generals on everything ranging from refusing to be called president of NATO, which never happened, why he's slow on stairs, unlike Obama, which actually was a compliment to Obama, which I thought was nice, from bringing America to a dead country to the hottest country. It was embarrassing. That is their commander-in-chief, and this was live streamed. So the entire world can see what a rambling, dysfunctional mess we have leading our armed forces. I mean, the man rambled at our own generals. At one point, he even asked them, raise your hand if you think raising canes, what? What the actual was that? I feel like I've lost IQ points after listening to that. This was a day of national embarrassment. And by the way, we're still careening towards a government shutdown with Captain Cankles McBonespurs. Hopefully he's not so careful or careful on stairs, whatever you wish. But that was bad. That was definitely, those were both speeches that could have been a Zoom recording or an email. Save us all the embarrassment.
I sat through Donald Trump's entire speech to the generals, so you don't have to, and these are my takeaways of what I can only describe as a poison shit word salad sandwich because of the amount of dangerous, detestable crap that came out of his mouth that sounded really more like the ramblings of a lunatic. He starts off addressing this room full of generals by saying, I built the military. Then he calls them central cast members and says, we won every war, World War I, World War II, everything after, everything before, and then we went woke and changed it from the Department of War to the Department of Defense, and we're going to fix that. Keep in mind that some of the worst things that he's saying on this list are the most flippant and offhand. Like, he doesn't want us to notice or even catch that he might have said it or notice that it was even important in the first place. We are awakening the warrior spirit that built this nation, taming the Great Plains. He says there's record recruitment in the military now that he's president. It will be a big insult to the country if I don't get the Nobel Prize. They'll pay in hell if they don't sign for it. He rambles about merit. People had jobs that weren't qualified. Now that has changed. We got away from merit for a long time. Now we aren't politically correct anymore. This country was set up for political correctness, but you never can be great like that. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending this country. In the big announcement, $1 trillion in 2026 on the military invested, followed by dead silence in the crowd. I hope you love it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you love it. That's a lot of money. Dead silence. We're going to be expanding the Navy by 19 ships. He says, I'm a very aesthetic person. I don't like some of the ships that you guys have right now. They said, well, it's stealth. That's why they look like that. I said, well, you don't have to have an ugly ship for it to be stealth. Then he claims he's going to give a 3.8% raise to every service member because Democrats never respected service members, and they do, so they're going to give them a raise. He rambles about the corrupt media to a room full of generals. He says defending the homeland is the most important job of the military. This is where he starts getting serious. We are under invasion from within. He says that twice. The people of the White House that were before us were radical left lunatics. The Democrats running these cities are the worst off. They are run by radical left lunatics, and we are going to straighten them out. We are going to use some of the people in this room, in fact, to solve that. Yes, he said that. It is a war from within. Based on common sense and love of country is how we operate. We should even use these dangerous cities as a training ground for our military. Then he spends a couple of minutes mocking the mayors and governors. We don't need the military, they said. We don't need the military. Oh, yes, you do. and we're going to send it. Have you seen the footage? This looks like World War II over there in your city. A real leader does what he has to do. You gotta do what you gotta do. A soldier should be able to knock the hell out of a woman protester yelling in their face. If it's okay with you and everybody in this room, let's go ahead and tell our troops, if you spit, we hit. That's our new motto. Then he starts talking about bricks and cars and people attacking federal agent vehicles and says that he tells Homeland Security and ICE, you get out of that car and do whatever the hell you want to do. Then he talks about an executive order that's about training for quick response in the military to quell civil disobedience and civil unrest. The enemy within, we have to handle that before it gets out of control, and we will. It says the plague within once, the enemy within at least twice. Our soldiers are following a great tradition of defending inside from the enemy within. Using the military for domestic order and peace is a historic tradition among our military members. Everyone in countries where the military police its citizens, just ask them. They'll say they love the military. Under our leadership, the military will be the knife's edge when it comes to combating this enemy, whoever the enemy is that they want the enemy to be. If you poison our people, we will blow you out of existence. We will have peace through strength. Then he made fun of Biden for falling down the stairs and spent several minutes talking about how much better he is at walking up and down stairs than Biden or Obama. There's going to be so many people wanting to join the military. We will have to turn people away because we don't need them all. Everybody wants to be in the military now. It used to be a job that nobody wanted until I became president. You don't have to take people who are physically and mentally incapable of being in the military and doing the job anymore because I've made recruitment and service based on merit. He talks about wanting to start something called a board of peace, where he's going to be the chairman, and the board of peace is going to make those parts of the world stay out of war. They call me the president of NATO, he says. Then he basically threatens the entire room of generals. Yeah, we got rid of some of you in this room. We know everything about everybody. Then he announces reforms to streamline military contracts for selling and buying military equipment to expedite the process. We will make more announcements to boost this warrior ethos. The Department of War is going to stop wars. We make the greatest equipment in the world. He compares Sparta and Rome to the United States, and the culture and spirit of the military is what makes us great. I don't have much commentary about this. All I can say is, not only was it embarrassing for our country, the display of it all, but it was just disrespectful and very much a waste of time to everyone in that room. Very much disgraceful.
For over an hour, he ranted about everything from complaining that he deserves a Nobel Prize to his bizarre obsession with how he walks downstairs compared to Obama, to asking the generals to raise their hands if they like a fast food chicken chain. But scattered between the ramblings was something far more sinister. He was laying the groundwork for a new American doctrine.
We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But these service members are following in a great and storied military tradition, from protecting frontier communities to chasing outlaws and bandits in the Wild West. And our history is filled with military heroes who took on all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that phrase very well. That's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic. Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control.
Take them out. He is talking about American citizens. And who exactly is this enemy from within? In Trump's own words, it's anyone who lives in a city run by his political opponents.
I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid governor, stupid. They threw him out of his family business. He was so stupid. I know the family. He becomes governor. He's got money. Not money that he made. but he ran for governor, he won, and now he criticizes us all the time. And last week they had 11 people murdered, 44 people shot. The week before that they had 5 people murdered, 28 people shot. Every weekend they lose 5, 6. If they lose 5, they're considering it a great week. They shouldn't lose any. You shouldn't lose any. This is civilization. And he's always up there saying, we're in very good shape. We don't need the military. No, they need the military desperately. How about Portland? Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone. And I get a call from the liberal governor. Sir, please don't come in. We don't need you. I said, well, unless they're playing false tapes, this looked like World War II. Your place is burning down. I mean, you must be kidding. Sir, we have it under control. I said, you don't have it under control, Governor, but I'll check it, and I'll call you back. I called her back. I said, this place is a nightmare. It's certainly not the biggest, but it's one of the worst. It's brutal. They go after our ICE people, who are great patriots and tough job too, but they love it. They love it because they're cleaning up our country.
This is not just talk. As the president was speaking, his plan was already being put into action. He labeled Portland, Oregon, a war-ravaged city and deployed a National Guard, authorizing the use of full force.
Oregon is suing Donald Trump over his deployment of the National Guard to Portland. Let me explain. Trump ordered the deployment of at least 200 National Guard members to Portland to handle what he called domestic terrorists, authorizing the use of full force, according to a memo sent by U.S. Defense Secretary, recently renamed Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on Sunday, September 28th, and a Truth Social post by Trump on Saturday, September 27th. In response, Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield filed a lawsuit calling the deployment unlawful. The lawsuit states that the National Guard deployment was provocative and arbitrary, and that it threatens to undermine public safety by inciting a public outcry. Rayfield also released a video statement on X saying,
"The moment that we got notice of a deployment, that I wanted to be in court with a lawsuit filed within 12 hours. As of 2 o'clock today, we have a lawsuit filed in Portland in the United States District Court to protect Oregon and its values, less than 6 hours from the moment we received notice."
In his Truth Social post on Saturday, Trump claimed that Portland was war-ravaged and said that the move would protect our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa. The ICE facility in Portland has been a frequent protest site since early June, where violent clashes have occasionally broken out. The U.S. Attorney's Office has brought federal charges against at least 26 individuals for assaulting officers and resisting arrest. However, the protests have largely been limited to that area, about 2 blocks in the southern part of the city. Online, Portland residents have been sharing photos of their daily lives, sarcastically tagging them with Trump's war-ravaged label to highlight the disconnect between his claims and the peaceful images they have shared online. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson responded to Trump's post with a statement, "Like many other mayors across the country, I have not asked for and do not need federal intervention. What do you think of the Trump administration deploying the National Guard to Portland? Let us know in the comments."
And this is what his training ground looks like. This is the war he wants to bring to every city he doesn't control. This is happening in Portland. It's happening in 19 states, according to reports, and it's being enabled by his new Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who has his own message for the enemy.
Donald Trump revealed today, speaking to generals, that he signed an executive order for a quick reaction force to send the military into American cities. Trump said that there's an enemy within, referring to other Americans, and then said he wants to use our cities as a kind of proving ground to give the U.S. military practice so that when they go abroad, they've already got experience, what, shooting Americans? Watch this.
Last month I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
Next clip shows Trump talking about using our cities as a training ground for the U.S. military.
Very important mission, and I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid governor, stupid. They threw him out of his family business. He was so stupid. I know the family.
Next, Trump says he's going to use the generals to declare war on Democratic cities.
The ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within.
One thing we've learned with Donald Trump is that when he makes fascist threats, take him at his word. He's talking about declaring war on American cities. He's talking about using the people in this room, the generals and the admirals, to do it. And he's talking about using American cities as a kind of training ground for our troops to become more lethal. Take him at his word.
To my military brothers and sisters, how far is too far? Like, how far are you willing to go before you just say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore? Like, is it going to take them asking you to take your mom's life, your kid's life, your wife's life, your spouse's, husband, whoever, any type of family member? And I ask that simply for this reason here.
To our enemies, F-A-F-O. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
And I know y'all like Maya. He just said our military. Yeah, but before he said that, Trump said this.
What they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. Controlling the physical territory of our border is essential to national security. We can't let these people in.
So for the people who joined the military because they wanted a way out, they wanted to become, financially stable and all the benefits and things like that, when they send you into the inner city where you are from, because a lot of y'all came from hard times, what are you going to do when it's your high school sweetheart that you have to pew-pew, or your aunt or your grandma? What are you going to do?
The most damning part of this story is the reaction of the very people Trump is trying to command. While he spoke, our generals sat in stony silence. This photo of a general with his head in his hands went viral, and it says everything.
This right here is a picture of America's top military generals listening to Donald Trump give his rambling speech today where he insulted them, he insulted our country, he declared war on American cities. Like, this man right here is the perfect representation of how this speech went. These are military leaders in the United States from different bases all over the world, Asia, Europe, of course here in the United States, and more. Just look at their faces, all of them. And that tells you exactly how this speech went today. During Donald Trump's tirade, he insulted their weight, their leadership. He said we're going to use blue cities as military training grounds, and essentially declared war on American cities that he doesn't like. And multiple times throughout Donald Trump's speech, he asked for these military leaders to clap. He was essentially begging them to applaud him. He called the room silent. Now, these military officials are meant to be nonpartisan. They're not meant to clap or boo or anything like that. But remember, in Donald Trump's first term, our military actually stood in the way of his dictatorial tendencies. And so hopefully the men and women in that room do so once again.
They were silent because they know their oath is to the Constitution, not to a would-be tyrant. An oath that Trump is asking them to break. Veterans who served this country are speaking out in disgust.
All right, listen to Trump's opening statements today in Quantico to the active duty personnel that were there.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is... Don't laugh, don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future.
Now, this actually might be funny if it weren't true. I mean, we all know that Trump opened up an investigation over everything that happened over the escalator and the teleprompter, so he would absolutely 100% do that to these military personnel. But on a more serious note, if you're an active duty service member, I don't care if you're a high-ranking general or a private, and you continue to support this tyrant for what he's doing from within inside this administration, you are wrong, and you are a fucking oath breaker. You're nothing but a cuck sitting in the corner going to town on yourself while you continue to watch Trump fuck this country. Do the right fucking thing. I know I am. I hope that you will too. Semper Fi, Gunny out.
This is the ultimate betrayal. Asking young men and women, many of whom joined the military to escape hardship, to now turn their weapons on their own communities. Let's be perfectly clear. The President of the United States, in an unhinged and rambling speech, declared American citizens to be a domestic enemy. He has begun deploying military forces into our cities to act as his personal law enforcement, against the will of local governments. He is attempting to purge the military of anyone who won't pledge personal loyalty to him. And he is forcing our brave service members into an impossible moral and constitutional crisis. And the most sinister part? His rhetoric is working on some. He is successfully convincing a portion of the country to cheer for military action against their fellow Americans. This is how freedom dies. Not just with a bang, but with a president who calls his own people the enemy, and a population that is tricked into applauding. This is not a partisan issue. This is an American issue. This is a direct assault on our democracy and our safety. Share this video. Talk to your friends, your family. Make sure everyone knows what is happening. We cannot allow our cities to become training grounds. We cannot allow our neighbors to become the enemy. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and do not be silent.